So, Ruth, we're going to get right into your fridge right now. I'm going to share the screen. And your fridge is exactly as I would have imagined your fridge to be. It is so beautifully stocked. You can see Ruth's fridge on my Instagram at StandUpDan. You use every single square millimeter. It looks like the expensive section at Dean and DeLuca is what this fridge looks like.
Well, not quite.
You've got so much fun stuff going on. Yeah, let's start breaking it down. You send me a ton of pictures, which is awesome. So I'm just going to start going through it. So this seems like your nut and dried fruit drawer.
Nuts, dried fruit, and capers.
Yeah, so you've got the salted capers. Why do you do salted capers over the capers in oil?
These capers, I think, are the best capers you can buy. They're from Italy. They're bigger. They're tastier. And I use a lot of capers. My husband loves capers. So, to me, you're not investing a lot of money in buying the best of an ingredient like that, which really adds, pow and zest to your food. So a bag of these is like $35, but it lasts me 6 months maybe.
Yeah.
And, you just take a little handful of them, you get the salt off, and you are making your food instantly more delicious.
Yeah, I put it in the same categories as like anchovies, where it's like...
Anchovies also very big with me.
Do you do salt packed or you do oil?
I do the whole ones packed in salt.
Oh, wow.
Actually, direct from the same company, I get the capers. They're from Gustiamo.
Fantastic. And then, of course, the pine nuts. Is this for on top of salads or pestoing?
Well, it's basil season, I'm growing a lot of basil. It's I only grow herbs, but I grow a lot of basil. So I'm sorry to say these are not great pine nuts. These are Chinese pine nuts, which are about half the size of the Italian ones and about half as flavorful, but also half as expensive.
Wow, Ruth is putting Chinese pine nuts on blast right now, guys. Fighting
over if you put them up side by side with each other, it's kind of amazing how different the Chinese ones are from the Italian ones.
Yeah, the Chinese seem to be trying to get into a lot of the high-end food game. Like they're doing truffles, they're doing caviar, and it's all not nearly as good.
True.
Is there anything that they're doing better than
Well, all the things that are Chinese, they do better. So, right. There are lots of, indigenous Chinese ingredients that you want to get the Chinese versions of. It's just when they're trying to do truffles, truffles are not really a Chinese thing.
Yeah, it's not indigenous to that area. So let's go to the next section here. You've got your fancy tahini, organic tahini.
Again, this is great tahini, and if you're going to buy tahini, you might as well buy a really good version, which this is. The supermarket version is pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how bad tahini can be, because you're like, okay, well, it's just sesame seeds, but no, it can be pretty awful. And for some reason, you're right, the supermarket ones are pretty bad.
And, again, it's a small investment to make a big difference.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. The Middle Eastern in me is 100% on your side there. Although I haven't tried Chinese tahini yet. I wonder how theirs tastes.
That I haven't had.
Okay, cool. So this section I love. This is like your cured, let's call it the cured meat and fish eggs section.
Yes, exactly. So there's smoked trout there, which is delicious. And then there are two different kinds of local cured meats. The sopressata is from charcuterie, which is a local up here charcuterie, and they make really good stuff.
Cool.
And the bacon is Newski's, which is from Wisconsin, and I love their bacon. And then over on the side, you've got Botarga, which is one of those ingredients that I always have on hand. It's sometimes called poor man's caviar. It's dried mullet roe.
Yeah, I love Botarga, and that's another one of those kind of secret ingredients that you can put in anything and adds this umami fishy flavor that's delightful.
Exactly.
Although it's funny, I've had a tough time finding the intact mullet roes of the Botarga. Like I have a friend of mine gave me a jar of it that's already powdered, and it doesn't have nearly.
It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. And also, the thing about having the whole one is that they come waxed, and you sort of take the wax off, and then you can slice it in beautiful little shavings that are the already grated one. Like anything that's grated, it dries out. Right. And the whole ones, it's sliced and it's moist, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is definitely worth spending a little more money on. Okay, so now we've got the Korean section with you've got gochujang, which is like a fermented Korean hot sauce. What are you using that in?
Pardon?
What are you using that in?
Any place you would use a hot sauce. I happen to love Korean food, so I use gochujang a lot. And I mean, you can also just use it in vegetables. If you're sauteing vegetables, throw a little of the gochujang in. Anything that you would be using kimchi in, you might also want to put a little gochujang in.
Yeah, yeah. What is this kimchi that you have? The resourced kimchi right next to it. It's a very, is that kimchi? Because it seems like a very small, thimble-sized kimchi.
It is, but I also have, you can't see it in the back. I have, you can sort of see right at the top there.
Oh, here.
The bottom. Yeah, that is a homemade kimchi that somebody brought me.
Oh, okay. Now
that's a big bottle of it. This is from a box. I've been buying boxes from Blue Hill. They have this thing called Resourced.
Yeah.
And their seafood box last week had this homemade kimchi in it.
Oh, cool. Yes. It's very cute. I just read that Blue Hill is a restaurant in upstate New York in Tarrytown that they do an insane tasting menu that, it's on the farm and you get to see the animals outside the window that you're eating. And I heard that they're doing the tasting menu outside now.
They are. I actually talk to Dan Barber, the chef there, every couple of days for another project I'm working on. And they just opened last week for the first time. And he worked out a thing where it's kind of a picnic. So you order ahead of time and you get there, and the food and the drink that you've ordered is already on the table. And the only time and it's all outdoors, and the only time you actually have contact with someone is they have these long, like 6-foot long pizza paddles, and they come and bring protein on that. So nobody ever gets closer to you than 6 feet. I mean, they've really worked out how to do distanced dining.
Wow, very cool. And the space there is just as beautiful as it gets, I could imagine.
It is as beautiful. It is magical.
Let's keep going. So now we've got the kind of hot saucy area here. What is this hot fire? It seems like you have a couple of these. I've never...
This is a chef in New York and Brooklyn who's making the most delicious fermented hot sauces, and he makes them in a bunch of different flavors. I happen to love, this is jalapeno habanero.
Oh,
but really delicious. I love hot food. So the vinegar is also, that's from, I bought that in DC.
The ramp vinegar?
Ramp vinegar. It's, again, a local artisan who's making really great different kinds of vinegars. In the back there, there is Red Boat fish sauce.
I just did that last night, actually. It's my favorite fish sauce.
It's great fish sauce. And next to it is pomegranate molasses.
Oh, okay. That's, I'm Iranian, so we use that a ton in our cooking.
Yeah, and again, another great ingredient to have on hand. It keeps forever. And way over on the side of the other hot sauce is colatura, which is basically different kinds of fish sauce. It's an Italian fish sauce. It's made very much like the Vietnamese fish sauce.
Oh, I didn't know there was an Italian fish sauce. Tell me about this.
It's called colatura, and it's essentially what the Romans called garum, which is basically, fish that are salted, left to dry. It's exactly the way Vietnamese fish sauce is made.
Is it with anchovies as well?
It's with anchovies as well, yes.
Oh, cool! I didn't. So I read about garum. I didn't know that it was still being used.
Still being made. And again, the great thing about anchovies and why I actually have, I think, 4 different kinds of anchovies in my refrigerator, although I'm not sure you're seeing any of them. But one of the things about anchovies is if you put them into a hot pan with a little bit of oil and some onions, they will disintegrate almost immediately. And they add this deep flavor to food, but it doesn't taste like anchovies. It just tastes like very flavorful salt. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the thing. When people say I hate anchovies, I'm like, you don't know what anchovies are.
Exactly.
Like, I think they're associating it with like anchovies on their pizza, which is, a little bit of a stronger flavor. I mean, I can't get enough of them, but for people who hate anchovies, if you disintegrate it in your sauce, it's what makes a sauce great, usually. If you're like, what's that flavor? It's usually anchovies.
Right. And so the fish sauce and the colatura both work that way without you having to actually melt them.
All right. Colatura is on my list right now. I'm getting that. Talking about chicken a la king, mango and garbanzo tabbouleh, real potatoes and vegetables with roasted garlic and basil, zucchini ziti, granola fruit bar. Look at all this beautiful food.